Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Blacklist podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jacqueline Grosky, number 23 on the list, and with me is...
Melissa Maxey, number 13.
So we're here to talk about, Season 2, Episode 20, Quon, Zhang. And this is kind of a spooky episode.
It's a little like Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah, really almost the beginning and the end of the show almost didn't connect. Quon Zhang was more about the bad luck and all the things that were going to happen to the team because they captured Quon Zhang, basically. So
yeah,
I guess we should go back a little.
So it starts out with, it shows two guys cutting a fence and they're sneaking into a graveyard and they start digging away and someone comes up and they kill him.
It's the police or security guard and they're trying to find out what they're doing, and because it looks like they're digging up a dead body. And of course, before anything can happen, they kill the guard. And, so then we find out that they're from China. It's all about these brides to the grave. So sons that are heirs have died. And what they need so that they won't have bad luck or disgrace or bad luck.
So they won't haunt their families.
Right.
Because that's what they do, is they're haunting their families and causing their families bad luck. So they need a mail order corpse bride to be buried next to them.
Well, we were so involved with this part of the Blacklist that they really almost kind of glossed over the fact that Liz's mother was a big-time Russian spy. She goes in and Red won't say a word, which at this point, hasn't he learned his lesson at all? That he might as well just tell her because she's going to find out anyway. I'm sure he has his notion, and even Dembe was kind of giving him a little look at the end there.
Yeah, I just like Dembe in this episode because he was still kind of taking charge of watching over Reddington really closely, taking him on his walk, making sure he's getting, because after surgery, you're supposed to, exercise and everything. And Reddington makes fun of him. He's like, why did you just let me die? What's with all this aimless walking? I love that line. That was perfect.
The funny thing is they had Leonard Call pop into this episode, who still has kind of a fresh, bloody neck wound. And Red is pretty much just jumping around from place to place with no apparent sign that he's had open chest surgery.
Yeah, I know. He's like all over the place. He's just like getting around like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, they didn't even make an attempt, which actually, that almost seems kind of Red to me.
Well, he's a tough guy. I think that he can handle, if anyone's going to be able to handle it, he is. He's probably been through a lot more than we don't even know about. And I can't wait for those episodes where they do flashbacks. Let's do the flashbacks.
Yeah, they haven't had one of those really for a while, not since the Justice thing.
Well, I want it to be a flashback where it's back when he turns. I want to find out what happened when he's working with the Russians.
Well, I think that might be coming up because they're digging up so much history. In fact, we know that there's been a lot of digging around into Reddington's past and inquiries about Liz's mother and the baby, which of course is Liz.
Right. And
that's coming from the Justice Department. So, and the preview for next week really says, doesn't she says, I know, she gets her memory back. So I really think we're going to get some of those flashbacks next week. I know I'm kind of jumping the shark here, but I think you're right. I think you're going to get what you want next week. You should watch what you ask for because
I always get what I want.
Missy does not mess around.
That's right.
So,
okay, can we talk about really quick about the Tom Keene commercial? Because I know everybody wants to talk about this.
Why could I not figure you were going to go straight to the commercial?
Because I had the best time watching this episode because they had the Ford commercial. Tom Keen in his Ford Mustang driving around the warehouses.
Okay, well, let's look at that. I mean, you were probably looking at Tom. I was definitely looking at the 2015 Mustang. I won't say I wasn't. It was a GT. It was in my favorite blue color.
It was all I could do to get pictures because I'm like standing in front of the TV with my iPhone and I'm trying to snap shots and he's driving so fast I could barely get his face in the shot. And I'm like, I had to rewind it a couple times, play it again. I posted some pictures on his Instagram, and one of them is Tom driving the car, and he's like, "There's two Toms," because he's driving so fast.
Well, did you pay attention to what he said? Because he said a couple very interesting things.
He said a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like, the people that handled him have no control over him anymore, which indicates
would be
Reddington and
Berlin.
And Berlin. Well, and the Major.
And the Russians.
And the Russians.
He's a free agent.
He is. So I think they're really kind of inserting him back in. We may see, something more with the relationship next week. We may not. Yeah, I think they're going to kind of play it out a little bit. We'll see what happens with that. But I think the commercial kind of told us a couple things that Tom is kind of going from the dark side to the good side.
Well, some people hope that. Some people really want Tom and Liz to get back together. They're all happy that they're spending more time together and doing all these clandestine meetings behind everybody's back.
Well, if it wasn't for the Tom Keen, huge fan club, I would say maybe you're wrong. They can have him in and out. He's a minor character. But this kid, Tom Keen, has become so popular. Just because he's a double agent, he's got the puppy dog looks, everything going on. And I think it's almost like an episode or a series that gets canceled, but so many people complain about it that, it goes on and magically for another 10 seasons, kind of like Family Guy. It got
Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, the Simpsons, I don't think the Simpsons
the Muppets are coming back.
See, now that's epic.
They are. They're coming back. They just announced it tonight.
Well,
sorry, that was off.
Yes, indeed. We're coming back.
All I can say is cowabunga.
Oh, we would make terrible Muppets.
Oh my gosh, we would be awesome Muppets.
Well, I do a fairly good Kermit.
That was a very good Kermit.
All right. Well, I'm not making any money on my Kermit imitation. So back to the show and Tom Keen, and let's see, where are we?
Okay, so Dembe's taking Red on a walk, and they come out and talk about this guy named Jasper. And Reddington makes these plans for Dembe and a couple of Alex and Barton. Those are the two guys that work for him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
To go to Key West to blow up Jasper's yacht.
Right. Now, Jasper...
It was kind of a funny little exchange because I love how they do the little monologue where Red's talking about what's going to happen and then we actually see it happening.
Yes. It actually was...
So you see Dembe get out of the car and you see Alex or Barton by the car and then he goes on the yacht and you see... Dembe sets it up so it'll explode.
So they're setting all this up to Jasper's in the cabal. And so they're setting this up so that he's getting some attention and they can have a little confrontation. And so the press, he's out in the press, he's having to answer these questions about his yacht blowing up, and boom, in comes Red, and he gives Samar a call and said, "I need your services." Since when did Samar become like Reddington's...
The assassin?
Yeah.
or torture woman, torture sessions.
Torturous. I think we're inventing new English terms here.
I know, seriously.
We want to be PC because we don't want to offend the torturouses out there. But I thought the Marathon Man reference with the teeth.
Yes, that was Oh, that was good. He had a really long monologue for that while that guy was getting injected in his teeth.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, it's like, where are they really going with this? And man, they'll switcheroo where Samar says, I've infiltrated this group and for months, and I've exposed myself to save you. And for a second, I thought, oh man, this can't be true.
I'm like, she's the mole. I'm like, no. And then she shot Dembe on their way out. I was like, oh my God, this is going downhill fast.
Well, I have to say, when she shot Dembe and it was just that easy, you can't keep a good man down. And Dembe went down way too fast. And I thought, that's when I knew it was fake.
It was a setup.
It was a setup because it's like Wonder Woman. Right in the middle of the episode, she gets tied up. They're dangling her from an airplane, but it's the Wonder Woman show. So she's just not going to die. And when I saw Dembe got shot, I think it's a setup because Dembe's just not going to die here. They've already shot Red. They're not going to do it. And sure enough, she gets all the information she needs. She pulls back up to the house. And
with Reddington on the steps because he's too exhausted now. He can't stand up.
And the angel was a devil in disguise, which was a literary reference that he had been using. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
To watch the show, you really have to read books. I mean, it's kind of amazing. But I'm sure it's like
I like the references. It's like finding little pieces.
Yeah. Easter eggs almost.
Yeah, Easter eggs.
I guess so many of the movies have these little things, and it's kind of fun to have them in the Blacklist. All right, so where we...
So we need to talk about Liz and Tom and their clandestine meetings because she wants him to help her find out who her mother is. So, while they're talking about all the casket stuff, she kind of sneaks away and meets up with Tom so that Tom thinks he knows someone that might know who is in the picture. So it shows Tom like at this, where are they, a gym or something in the bathroom?
Yeah.
And he's talking to a Russian man and he's like, I need you to tell me who's in this picture. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, I think that you might. And shoves it in his face again. And the next thing you know, the Russian like slugs him. There's a brawl.
Well, he tried to slug him, and Tom did the quick little duck, and then all of a sudden, a couple other guys start getting into the action. So Liz comes in with a weapon and saves the day. But we do find out that Liz is not a real American. She was actually born in Russia.
Yeah, her name was Masha.
Masha.
Born in Moscow, and her parents
you didn't
were
even
KGB. What? I did so. I was ignoring you. Brady Bunch.
A little Brady Bunch reference. I thought that was funny. Apparently not.
They have these new Brady Bunch commercials. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
The Snickers commercial.
Oh, yes. I have seen those where
the parents are sitting on the couch and there's like a big, I don't even know who the dude is, but he's got tattoos and he's like, Peter, hit me or whatever. I don't know.
And the other one was Donnie from The Big Lebowski, standing up the top of the stairs. I thought
the wedding singer.
I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so let's see. Tom and we were talking about Tom and Liz.
So Liz is Masha. She was born in Moscow. Her mother's name is Katerina.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Rosala?
Oh, I wish you hadn't said that. What is her last name?
Katerina. And both her parents were KGB agents.
Well, and we find out that she's such an undercover KGB agent that she's almost considered a ghost, almost a legend that never really existed.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting development. And the closer Liz gets, she almost gets the CIA team to find out some things about her mother. And right in the middle of the Cabal's terrorist action, that group gets completely blown up.
I like how Liz fishes Red out because she figures out from when her and Tom were in the bathroom in the gym and she sees that name on the list. and it's Bill Kershaw. She knows that's Reddington. So she goes back to his little apartment.
Right.
And she starts hunting around for a camera.
Oh, that was
she's trying to get a hold of him. And she's stalking the whole time and tossing the place. She finds the camera. Hello, Mr. Kershaw. And Dembe hands the iPad to Reddington, and he just rolls his eyes. Like, oh my God. So then he calls her. So then they have that meeting where he talks about her parents and, you know, what her mom's name was, what her name was, and then he's not going to tell her anything more. And she's like, well, then I'm going to find out by myself what happened.
Yeah, I really think at this point he should have kind of let her know, because I don't know. I think it's something that's coming up. And I thought it was kind of interesting that, you know, the going back and forth between the Blacklister and all this other stuff going on. You've got the Russia connection, you've got everything going on with the Cabal. And then right in the middle of this, they figure out that Quon Zhang is a smuggler, and they go back to the body. And they're trying, they think that he's been smuggling weapons or explosives, and they just can't figure out. But of course, Aram figures out by looking at the different pictures and says, look, there's something different in the teeth. Like the teeth are completely different.
Yeah.
And then figures out, you know, their veneers. And from the veneers, they figure out where the dentistry was done. And so that they go right to the lab, and there's these paper mache dolls, which are part of an ancient Chinese culture thing. So, you know, right from there, they get a real big head start. And one of the paper mache dolls is from a target that they haven't found yet. So they actually find the girl at pretty much almost at the last minute, because she's already been abducted and knocked out. And so they catch him, and you think, oh, well, maybe this is the end of the show, but that's only about halfway through.
Yeah, they just have, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on with that. I mean, well,
so they get Quon Zhang in the, I guess I was going to say in the precinct, but it's, they get Quon Zhang back into the FBI place and interrogate him. And he unleashes this whole, my brother, you know, the same thing happened to my brother, and parents lost their jobs, lost their life. I was burned, you know, he was burned in the accident, and this is reality, and you've just brought bad luck or bad karma, whatever it is, to not only to the family, but yourselves. And so I think the whole thing about this part of the Blacklist was really foreshadowing to all the things that they were going to be dealing with.
And the other thing about him is that he smuggles people in and out of the country, right? So they're trying to find out about the Cabal, and he knows there's because there's that attack coming.
Right.
And he's like, well, it's already too late, because he's already delivered something to the United States, and it's not a bomb, it's a man. So Cooper's been having all these thoughts about why he was put on the trial, and how much Connolly is like really kind of pushing him to do things that he doesn't really want to do. They're against his code. And he wants him to reveal, because he got caught with his pants down, literally. And since his 3 wives can attest that that's pretty nasty, Cooper decides that he doesn't want to help him. He doesn't want to release documents. It goes against everything he believes in. And he talks to his wife about it. And she's just like, you need to do what you need to do, because I need you to be alive. She's like, I need you to be on this trial. And so later in the episode, Cooper goes to Connolly, and he's like, I'm not doing it. This isn't happening. I'm out.
Yeah, as he says, he's about to tell him to go pound sand.
Yeah, and Connolly's like, it's too late. Your wife did it for you. She released the documents. And now he's like, oh my God. He totally... I mean, because she had done that, he is in a bind. He's in a serious bind, because now he has to protect his wife, and he can't, and he's already done stuff like with Liz and the guy that she killed, or that Tom killed, and how they got it all washed away. And now he's got his wife that released these documents. He's just in a serious place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's going to have to be leaking information, anything that Connolly wants him to. But Connolly puts it in a kind of, even though he's the one twisting Cooper's arm, he says, this is really bigger than you and me. And I think Connolly recognizes that, yes, I'm kind of twisting your arm, but I guess he's kind of implying, look, man, it's not my fault. There are forces bigger than us that are acting here, which, whatever. He could have played things. Connolly is the kind of guy that is going to use people and blackmail them. And even if he believes the Cabal is really the one in control and that he's not doing this to Cooper, he really is. He's the one blackmailing Cooper. And of course, because Cooper's the one that went and said that Lizzie's operation was on the level with the harbor master, which it wasn't. So he's got, not only does he have Connolly for perjury, now he also has his wife for actionable treason.
Oh, Connolly just wants a place. He just wants to move up the chain, and he's going to do everything he can. And it's really, I just feel bad for Cooper because all he wanted to do was get his health crisis taken care of. It wasn't like he was asking, I don't know. And then Connolly stepped in because he's his friend and said, oh, I'll, do this for you. I'll get you this. And then he totally stabbed him in the back.
Well, but Connolly's a strong character. I think he'll get his revenge in the end. And I don't see Connolly as that long-term character. I think Connolly got his little seat on the board, but the first thing that, I just have a feeling that Connolly will have his day, that Cooper will have his day, and Connolly is not long for the show. I think he'll only be around for a while because that Cabal is going down. And once the Cabal is gone, I think Cooper can take care of him easily.
Yeah, or Reddington will.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Cooper. I think just for the revenge factor, which will be fun.
I'm wondering if I'm hoping that something doesn't happen to Cooper's wife, because I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think it would really serve the storyline very well. Oh, Katerina Rostova is her last name.
Okay.
So both of Lizzie's parents were actually in foreign intelligence, and
yes.
So I think that
I thought it was cool that when Liz and Red are together, what I've noticed in the episodes when they have their little conversations, she ends up being like us. Like the questions that we have that we want Reddington to answer, she asks him. Right. Like she was asking, well, were you in love with my mother? Is that why my father was killed? All of these random things that us as fans would think of to ask.
Oh, and
he never says a word. He didn't say anything, and I'm like, well, was he? I'm like, was he in love with her mother? I mean,
well,
is he her,
Here's the problem. Once you start answering one of those questions, sometimes answering what it's not eliminates something of what it is. So that's why he can't answer any of the questions. But the one thing that he did answer, which was pretty huge, is that he was the one that erased Lizzie's memory.
Yeah, that was huge.
And if he's the one that erased the memory, why could he not figure out how to get it back? Because a few episodes ago, we had the whole thing where this doctor was going to get her memory back. And of course, it didn't work. But
he was knocked out because you saw in the fire, he was on the ground. So there was stuff that he did not see. I mean, he didn't. So he erased the memory to protect her, but he also needs to know what part of the memory is.
Right.
Because he was knocked out. He was on the ground.
Well,
that's how he got burned.
Well,
that's how his back is burned.
Right. But my point being isn't so much that is the fact that he's the one that erased her memory. So he knows the process. So if anything was going to reverse it, I would have thought that he'd be the no. Yes. He tells. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, he had it erased, but he doesn't know how to get it back.
Well, I mean, if you were going to get it back, I would think that would have been the place to start rather than that whole. But it was an interesting episode. But it just kind of occurred to me as a point that, well, I guess, why didn't they go that direction? If he was the one in charge of it, whatever thing that he did should have.
Well, I liked Aram talks about. There's some stuff that happens with the girls. And so I like the Aram sessions where he gets to do a little tech stuff. And the money they found some money in a briefcase, and he was going through it and he figured out they all had 8s. There were no 4s in the numbers.
Right.
And he said they're prosperity notes. So they're $5. Like each dollar is worth $5.
So that's more like 500,000, not just 100,000.
Yes. And so somebody bought it from the U.S. Treasury with no 4s in it. And that's when they found out about the next victim.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was huge. I think Aram's really kind of coming into his own. At first, they were doing these weird little interplays where he would find something, but he would send this goofy card. I kind of like the fact that they've put him back in his role.
Yeah, and the other thing is with this, when they find out who the girl is that's left that's going to get taken, he calls her. Like, he's the one that calls her and has her on the phone, tells her to lock the place down.
Right.
And then that's when, he's like, the police are on their way, he's like a dispatcher. And that's when she gets taken and he's on the phone with her. That was a pretty cool scene because the police come to the door and then Quon comes out in the car with a girl and Liz and Wrestler like ram him. Yeah. Like in the front.
That was such a great stop.
It was.
And the first thing I thought about that was all the pain that Wrestler's been in. And that would have really exacerbated some pain. And they haven't even gone there. So are we to assume that he's kicked the drug habit and everything is good? Or are they gonna...
They still haven't addressed that. They're going to have to address that. Everybody knows that is... I mean, everybody was so happy that Wrestler, was getting more screen time because he's kind of been put on the sidelines and been in the post office for so long. He hasn't really been out very much.
Right.
And and they're talking about that. They're like, well, what happened to his drug addiction? Everything seems fine. I mean, they have a lot of stuff they still need to answer for. There's, Samara too. They haven't really delved very much into her past and why she has her allegiance with Reddington for right now. She's got some secrets herself.
Right. And speaking of secrets, I liked how they were talking about the Fulcrum and how the Fulcrum was 25 years old, but they kind of closed that little loop by saying most of the key delegations are still run by the same players.
Right.
I thought that was, you kind of have to close that gap a little bit. Somebody must have paid attention to that for them to bring that up.
Doing some clarification, making sure they have all their T's crossed and I's dotted.
And let's see. So I'm looking online here, and here's some. Jasper knew the Cabal had someone on the inside at the post office. So who is inside at the post office? So that's a good question.
Would be Cooper.
Is it Cooper?
Well, isn't it? Because he's talking to Connolly and telling him all this information.
That's true, but I don't know if I guess they have somebody by the coattails, basically. I wouldn't consider that they have Cooper. I guess they can kind of control him and leak some things. Yeah.
I mean, Cooper's been telling Connolly a ton of stuff, and if Connolly's in on, he's got a seat at the table now. I mean, that's how he got his seat, right?
Right.
That's why he's in so much trouble.
And here's one of the quotes. Don't look so glum, Kenneth. You just spent 10 minutes being ridden hard by Agent Navabi. I'd die for 5.
Oh my gosh, that was an awesome one from Reddington.
It was. Huh. So, what else do we have? We've got...
The episode really just kind of... It didn't seem as there was as much information as the previous episode because they tied it up. I mean, they were able to, we were able to, once we figured out who Quon was and about the caskets and about him bringing someone into the country for a big, event that they're planning. They're going to attack something on U.S. soil. And so that was his connection. That's why they brought him in to say that he did all these things and these were the reasons because of the girls that he was sending back, but really it's about him bringing someone into the country.
Right. And the foreboding, welcome to America, and you've brought your own bad luck kind of thing. So it's really setting up. We're looking next episode for some sort of WMD, and we'll see all where that goes to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to add anything?
I don't think so. I think I'm excited for the next episode.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be really good. I think almost the next episode, it could be like in itself could be the finale. The way they're setting it up, it would be almost interesting to see, where, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have the finale, and that's just going to be huge.
I know. I can't believe there's only a few weeks left.
All right. This was the SMG Blacklist podcast brought to you by the Southgate Media Group, where you can find us at www.southgatemediagroup.com. You can find all our different shows and podcasts, blogs. What else are there? We have Instagram and the fan pages. So what are those?
So we have our Twitter account is the Blacklist Pod is our Twitter, and the Blacklist Podcast is our Instagram. And then we have a Bosch TV fan group. I co-administrate that. And then we have Bosch Pod is our Twitter. And my Twitter is MSMaxi. And what's yours?
Mine is at Jacqueline Grosky. And just to remind you that we do have the Bosch podcast. There should be some all-new episodes coming up for that. And you can also visit us at our Facebook page. So that brings us all the way to the end. Until next time.
See you then.